What is going on, everybody? So I'm literally just on a roll right now. I just did the Galaxy Note 2 yesterday and how that basically held up in 2018. And right now we are going to take a look at a phone I have never done yet on this channel, which is the Galaxy S2. And we're going to take a look at how this phone holds up in 2018. Now what's crazy about this one is that I actually never owned this specific phone. Now there were a couple other variants of the Galaxy S2. There was like the Skyrocket, the Galaxy S2 like Sprint version, I'm guessing. This one right here is the T-Mobile version. And from what I'm assuming, there's really not too much of a difference between all of them besides just the way they all look. I will say the specs are almost the same. I mean, don't really hurt me if I'm wrong about that, but really 7 years later, I don't think you'll notice a difference in performance or anything. I think they're all going to be pretty slow if I'm being dead honest. So this is the T-Mobile variant, and I don't know if this was like a still worth it or if this was a revisited video, but I decided to go the still worth it route because there is one specific reason that I would go this way, and I'll explain a little bit more about that in a second. But before that, let me tell you a story. Back in the day, I actually like really wanted this phone, and this phone actually came out in 2011, so 7 years ago, and I really wanted it. And I would always see my friends having them, and at the time, you know, the screen on this thing was massive at the time, and my hands, like, I was much smaller than I was now, and I never really got it. And that is pretty much the synopsis of the story. Like, I need to write that into a book or something. I could probably become like a New York Times bestseller, New York Times, whatever. Now, this is one of those phones that has a lot of random numbers in the specs. I don't really know why they do this stuff, but it has a 4.52-inch AMOLED screen, and it's clocked at 480 by 800 pixels, and the pixels per inch is 206. So if I'm being honest, it's not that good of a panel, which is okay because at the time in 2011, when this was like a breakout phone, this thing had a very good panel, and that was one of the best selling features of this phone. And it's not so much anymore, but it's really not horrible. It's completely usable, and you know, that's pretty much it. But one thing I have to say in terms of my display or more of my body on this phone is that the bottom capacitive buttons do not work, which it does kind of suck a little bit. So I did have to go and download this like assistive touch thing on the App Store, but it's really not that big of a deal. If you guys don't care, then that's fine with me. If you guys care, then I'm actually going to be pretty sad about it. And one thing I want to say about the body, and more specifically the capacitive buttons, is that I was such a huge fan of them, and when I was growing up, I always loved like the Nexus 1 design and the Nexus S as well, which I do have and I'm making a video of very soon, but I loved them because they weren't on the screen and stuff. And then when the Nexus or the Galaxy Nexus came out, for example, that had the nav bar, and I was so against it. I didn't like it. Even up until like the Nexus 5X was released, I still didn't like it. I mean, I accepted it, but I didn't like it that much. But now as we're going further and further, I kind of learned to like the nav buttons more than the actual capacitive buttons. And now that we're going like a more bezel-less route, I actually like that a lot. It just doesn't make much sense when like a phone has so much bezel around it and it has nav buttons. It really doesn't make any sense. They might as well go one or the other and eliminate all the bezel, but I like the capacitive buttons on here, so there's that. Now the cool thing is that this phone actually started off getting Android 2.3.5 Gingerbread, and it went all the way to get upgrades up until Android Jelly Bean, which was 4.1.2, and that's actually a pretty decent amount of upgrades, I would say, especially for a phone that came out in 2011. A lot of phones at the time didn't really have a rep for like updating their phones for a while, and you know, Samsung really went up and beyond on upgrading this specific Galaxy S2 to Jelly Bean, which was super nice of them to do. And speaking about the software, if you guys remember in the beginning of this video where I said I didn't know if I should call this a revisited or still worth it, if you guys don't remember that, then you guys obviously need to go to the doctor, get your brain checked or something, dude, because like I literally said that like 4.5 minutes ago. But pretty much this phone is able to be rooted and custom ROMmed, and I say that every single video. I'm annoying about it, but it's kind of interesting because from what I saw online, there's Android Nougat ROMs out for it, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's like at least like 5 or 6 years worth of updates that this phone could potentially get if you root it and custom ROM it. And that's why I kind of think that it might be worth it to get a phone like this, but really it's still kind of in the middle ground because it's such an old phone. So like that's why I was kind of hesitant, but really the software is one of those things where you can easily just put a custom ROM on it and be set. So that is a plus for this phone. Now in terms of the specs, I'm going to go run through it, and it's not going to make much sense, but I'll explain it later. It has a Qualcomm Snapdragon S3 chipset, a dual-core CPU clocked at 1.5 GHz, an Adreno 220 GPU, and 1 GB of RAM. Now, that is pretty good specs for a phone in 2011. For now, though, that's really not that acceptable. It's kind of funny, though, because while I'm looking at these specs, they kind of reminisce of like the iPhone 6. Obviously, the iPhone 6 is faster, but the Galaxy S2, you know, they kind of have the same specs in a way. I will say that the Galaxy S2 is pretty slow. I mean, I honestly probably couldn't use it daily, even if I wanted to. And overall performance, like, it's slow, it's buggy. Apps take a while to open and close. Sometimes if I try to click on a game, for example, it's like not that good. I don't even think about multitasking because it's crazy on this thing. But you have to remember that this phone started off getting Android Gingerbread. So seeing that development, I mean, I would say Android 4.1.2 was the setting stone. Well, obviously Ice Cream Sandwich was very good, but Jelly Bean was kind of a setting stone for Kit Kat. And Kit Kat was a very good version of Android in my opinion. So I would say like this phone was able to see up until the Jelly Bean point, and at least it got to there. And I would say performance probably wouldn't have been better on Kit Kat, but I do think like if you wanted to use this thing, obviously you could. Like if I was stuck on an island, I would use it. I would be okay with it or whatever. But I couldn't even imagine using it. I mean, the web browser is slow, and just overall opening apps and all that stuff is slow. The Play Store and everything. Now gaming is kind of interesting because this is the first time I've ever seen a phone not able to play Pew Pew at like 100% speed. And that's saying a lot because I've tested a lot of older phones, but I think this is the first one that supports Pew Pew, but it doesn't play it that well. And that does kind of suck a little bit because, it's supposed to be like a game that any phone can play, and it's playable. I could probably get through it, but it's not that good in my opinion. And when I actually went to play, believe it or not, Temple Run, it couldn't play that well either on this thing. And it's pretty crazy because Temple Run is a game that played on like, I believe it was my iPhone 3G or 3GS that was able to download Temple Run. It might have been my iPhone 3G, and it played that perfectly fine. I don't think there were any bugs or skipped frames there, but on this phone, it like I couldn't even play it, like stuttered halfway through and I had to close it and get back into it, and it's just a mess. Like I don't know what they did with this phone, but it's definitely not able to, in terms of performance, if you're keeping it stock, because this phone is on stock, it's kind of a mess if I'm being honest. Now switching to the camera, it has an 8 megapixel camera. You can shoot 1080p videos with it. You can autofocus with it. It's okay. I mean, like, I don't know what else you guys want from me. Like, it has a 2 megapixel front facing camera. Like, photos are like 3.5 out of 10. I don't really want to spend too much time talking about it because if you're getting it now, you're probably not going to get it for the camera. And this isn't like a full review of it. This is just, how it holds up. And the camera is okay. I mean, I would say the back camera is pretty much equivalent to my iPhone X's front camera. Even my iPhone X's front camera is better than it. So that's really all I got to say about that. I mean, if you're getting it now, you're not getting it for the camera. But I do want to say that if I do bash this phone, if I'm bashing it now, it might sound like it, but I'm honestly not. I understand what this phone brought to the market, and it's an amazing phone at the end of the day. I have love for it. But yeah, this camera isn't the #1 reason why you would pick it up. Now, the coolest thing about this phone is that the battery is removable, and you also have a removable microSD card slot, but the stock battery within it is actually 1,850 milliamp hours, and that's actually pretty good. Now, my specific unit didn't even come with the battery, so I had to go on eBay and buy a different battery for it, which is okay. You know what happens. I'm not going to cry about it, but okay, I'll be honest, you guys caught me. I did cry a little bit, but it's all good. It was like $4.67, I believe, or $5 or something. Not the end of the world, but definitely a cost that eated up into the overall cost of this phone. But I will say it's definitely pretty interesting. I'm not going to say it's good because I charged it to 100% at the beginning of the day. Then I went to school and I came back and then it was pretty much already dead. It was on like 5%. So standby time isn't that good either. But that's what happens when phones are this old. Hardware tend to do weird things to the phones, and you pretty much can't change like the inner mechanisms of this phone, or at least I don't know why you'd want to, just because you can't really do anything with it because it is kind of an older device. So I mean, I could sit here and complain all day about it, but I know Samsung's not going to change anything about it, so there's no point because this phone's not getting any more software updates or anything. Now, some other notable things to note: this phone has a headphone jack. And it's so funny saying that, but I have to say it every time there is a phone with a headphone jack. It has capacitive buttons on the bottom. It does have a microSD card slot, which is pretty interesting. No fingerprint sensor, which might suck to a lot of people, but for me it doesn't really suck that much. Has an AMOLED screen, which is cool. And that's pretty much all the notable things to note. Now, before I give my answer, I want to tell you I do have love for this phone. I have love for all the Galaxy phones out there. I think they did bring a lot. I mean, all of them except probably the Galaxy S6, but this one is very important, and I understand why it's lived and survived for that long. But is the Galaxy S2 worth it in 2018? I would say 99.99% of people out there, yeah, it's not worth it. Don't even use this as a daily driver. Don't even think about using it as a daily driver. I'm sure there's some of you watching this who do have it as a daily driver, so that's actually kind of interesting. If you do, please comment in the comment section below. I'd love to hear you. But yeah, I would not recommend you guys doing it. Now, One cool thing why I would recommend people to kind of get it, and not to use that as your daily driver, but to get it and just mess around, is to custom ROM it, because there's cool custom ROMs out for it. And it's kind of cool to go and support these developers that spend time making, these older ROMs for it, or these newer ROMs for it. Now, I don't think anybody's made an Android Oreo ROM, but like I said, I think there's an Android Nougat ROM out for it. And if I can get a couple more people to go and like try to like make a custom ROM here and there, then that's awesome. And I really hope some of you guys do check it out and definitely custom ROM some of your phones you have. But yeah, I wouldn't use this phone as a daily driver, but I have love for it and I appreciate this phone a lot. And that's pretty much where I'm going to end it off at. If you guys have any questions or anything, leave it down in the comment section below. Hit that like button, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Like I said, I'm done with the iPhone 6s and iPhone SE giveaway, but I do want to start up another giveaway as well. I want to give away more iPhones, but I don't really necessarily want to increase the cost of the giveaways, because I want to be able to, sustain this channel and everything. So I'll probably end up just giving away iPhone SEs, probably like 3 or 4 of them, maybe 3, to people, so I can give away more iPhones and have more winners. And the iPhone SE is a very good phone too, but let me know what you guys think. I'd love to hear it. Check out the links in the description as well. Please follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I would really appreciate it. Simple Alpaca on everything. Please go and follow me. I'd really appreciate it. But more importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys, and hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.